Welcome to another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Dr. Dave Peltz, and along with me, as always, my esteemed colleague, Dr. Joe Hamlett. We'd like to welcome everyone and thank you all for participating and listening and viewing our show. We do this to share wisdom and to save the world from everything, I guess. And I can't save my house plant, but we're saving the world though. So
Okay.
in our usual fashion, um, well, actually, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was wondering when you're going to get to that. You're just going to jump right into the
Jump
topic.
right in.
I'm just not there. Just
So,
no, I'm doing good. I'm good. Thanks.
awesome. So in our usual manner, one of us brings in a topic or identifies a topic and then
Yeah.
quickly throws it to the other person, hoping they catch it and run the ball down the field. I think I
Right.
said that
Yep.
right. So today's topic is we are better together, as in teams or groups or that
Absolutely.
sort of thing. So,
Yep.
um, Joe, what are your thoughts on we are better together?
No, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with one aspect of we are better together, and you said team.
Mm,
So if anybody's a sports fan right now and they like or enjoy March Madness, then this is the perfect time for you to really understand that concept. So we are better together. So as Dave alluded to, a team is one of the most important things that where we are together makes sense, because if you think about it, there's all these players on the court. Again, if we're talking about basketball, we've got five players on the floor at a time, and although there are superstars on probably each team, one person that's really stands out, they still couldn't accomplish what they do in terms of winning and all
mhm,
that without their teammates, without the
right.
even if they're just certain roles that they fill in, that's still important to help them reach their goal or accomplishment, which is winning the national championship.
Mm,
So if you think of it in terms of we are better together because we need each other to lean on to
mm,
make sure that we're meeting our portion of the requirement to complete the project or the task or whatever it is, that's what we mean by we are better together.
mm,
Even if you think about when me and Dave both went back to school to earn our doctor's degree, even though
mm,
that is kind of a solo thing, because you're the one that's going to be submitting your assignments and all those types of things, it's still people that are around you that are providing you with support, your
mm,
family, your spouses, significant others. Those people are as just important as well too, to help
mm,
maybe to distract you every now and then, to maybe uh, make you pull your head out of the books, to
mm,
maybe do something different, to maybe give
right.
you some relief.
Yeah, give you a
um,
break during the week or whatever.
Absolutely. Just to so they're also important again as you're doing whatever you're doing. Again, even if it's a solo mission,
Mm,
it's still someone else is probably participating to some degree or some aspect of that. Because a lot of times we think we're doing this all alone,
right.
and we're better
Like a
alone.
superhero. We're just doing it by ourselves,
Exactly.
trying to
Yeah.
save the world, but you and I are
Yeah.
trying to save it together. So
Right.
that's different.
And so that's a good point Dave brings up. We both could have done this podcast on our own, right? And so you would have gotten one perspective, one person's idea of whatever topics we talk about. But again, even with me and Dave doing this together, you get a couple of different perspectives, a couple of different ideas, or even when we bring a guest on, we get a third perspective on
Mhm.
different topics, different ideas, and just helping you understand we are better together. And no different than us helping you with your journey. You're doing the same for us, helping us with our journey. Again, for us to see things differently, view things differently, or understand it, or introduce some way of looking at it maybe we hadn't considered. So
Mhm.
if we think in terms of we are better together, that's kind of where we're going with this. That
Mhm.
we all matter in our team assignments at work,
Mhm.
on project teams, anything we do, we invite or welcome in that different perspective that
Mhm.
makes us a better team because we're accepting,
Mhm.
we're recognizing, we're trying to understand
Yeah,
all
we're
those
open to the
different things.
process and the ideas.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
So that's where I when I think of we are better together, that's what I think of in that frame.
yeah, I like this topic, Joe, because it is, we've talked about you're never alone before and that sort of thing,
Right,
where, and it's absolutely true. I mean, even as, I'm going to kind of change the perspective a little bit, but even as, let's say, an artist that you like to
right,
draw or paint or something like that or whatever, you're still not alone because you have
right.
someone or something around you inspiring you. You have someone or
And
some
that's
place that
exactly
you're
what I
getting
was
your
thinking.
supplies from.
Getting your
Unless you're
inspiration, get
making your own paint and your own brushes
right,
and your own canvas and, you know, I mean, there's other people involved and to help you be successful or to help you be where you're at or to do what you do. So I love the topic of we are better together because of that, because I think it forces us to pause for a moment and really think about what's going on around us instead of being so self-absorbed in what we're doing and so narrow in our focus, which is good in some cases, depending on what you're doing. But you, to your point, you have to realize that you're not in this by yourself. You're not really doing it alone. If you're at an employer, you've got a whole team, you've got that whole company there that you
right.
can that you're working with and for. So it's kind of an interesting perspective when you really think about it. I mean, it's really opening that book up to well, I'm going to rephrase that. It used to be we could open up a book way back in the day, and then the internet came and it shrunk the world
Right.
because
Yeah.
now instead of getting a photograph from someone who traveled to another country, you can just go online and look it up and say, oh, yeah, that looks like a cool place
Right.
to go.
Yeah.
So, it really it expands your perspective from, again, taking the focus off yourself and really thinking about what's going on around you, how you're impacting other people, how they're impacting you, and how you are better off together. And to your point, this podcast, I love when we have guest speakers because it really brings in that third perspective, because you and I chat a lot. We're very chatty people. I mean, we chat for at least 2 hours before we even do a
Right.
podcast. It just,
Right.
miracle we get anything done. But I love having that third person in here because it's such a unique perspective for us to incorporate into the show. So that better together is absolutely fitting for today's podcast.
And I think also, like you say, as far as our team environments and things like that, I get excited when I hear, I've got a new teammate, or
Mhm.
I'm immediately, interested in them, what they like
Yeah.
to do, their past, their experiences, because I feel like you kind of like you said, you can now, go to the internet and you can find a location, find everything else, find everything about it, and then you feel more, in tune with wherever that place is. You
Hmm.
have a better understanding, and that's why I like meeting new people, because again, you start to see things differently from
Hmm.
their based on their background, their
Hmm.
experience, and you said it earlier about opening your mind, and that's what this is all about, introducing you to maybe something you're not aware of, or you may not be familiar with, or you may be aware of it or familiar with it, but now there's a different perspective you may not
Right.
have even thought about. And
Hmm.
I think that's the beauty of when we think of we're better together. I think of this, and I thought of this, as a senior leader in the military. I always used to think of, say you've got 1,000 people in your room, and typically the cream of the crop is going to rise, so top 10 or 15%, you won't have to do much to get them excited or get them
Hmm.
moving forward. But I imagine, what about that 85% that are either on the fence, have no clue, don't know where to go, don't imagine if you got them with that same type of mindset.
Mm.
The power
Yeah.
in that organization now becomes 1,000 strong versus just 10 or 15 people that
Right.
are doing something. Now you've got, 1,000 people with that same mindset. If I work with this person, it's going to be better. I just that always intrigues me, and it always excites me to think that, if we work together, if we bring that into the fold, how powerful that organization can be.
Yeah, and I like the perspective because it's the counter perspective of it's all about me.
Right. Yeah.
right? You know,
Yeah.
it's not, and that's the cool thing, because it's not all about you.
It's not I
It's about the
win,
collective. Yeah, it's we win.
we win.
Yeah, and it's
And
about the collectiveness and the,
yep,
and like you said, the coming together piece.
yep,
Because if you're not on the same page with people at work, what can you, or in your personal life, what can you do to get on the same page? Have
right,
those conversations, have those discussions, the ones that are challenging and uncomfortable, have them tactfully and respectfully, of course,
right,
but you know, you just can't go in there and just, you know, start throwing dishes around and pots and pans. That's usually frowned
right.
upon, especially in a restaurant. But you know, it's you know, it changes that your perspective to think about, okay, why am I not getting along with this person, or why is this person not getting along with me? You know, what can we do together to be better together, to create that synergy that
Right.
you're
Yeah.
talking about? And
And
I go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and just to create that understand the benefits of
Yeah.
working together
Yeah, yeah.
and the
And I
outcome.
recall a situation many years ago where I had a couple of employees that were just absolutely just, you know, they would butt heads. As soon as they walked in the room, you'd think there was going to be a fight or something like that. They just
Right.
did it. Not even oil and water. It was like gasoline and a match. You know, it's
Wow.
just,
Wow.
I mean, it was that volatile. And I was told, don't ever schedule them together in the same place. And I was
Mm.
like, challenge accepted. And people like, no, don't. It's gonna blow up the whole place. And I scheduled them together, and I went, and when I went down and talked to them to their area the first time, they were just like totally silent, and just, you know, you could see they are fuming, you know, just,
Right.
you could
Right.
just feel the rage when you walked in the room. And I mentioned to them, hey, do you know so and so likes this and so likes that?
Yeah.
And they mumbled and, you know, grumbled and went, you know, just went their separate ways in their area. And I came back a few hours later, and those two were just chitty chatty, chitty chatty, chitty chat. It's like something as small as identifying something in common can totally change a
Absolutely.
relationship. And they wound up being one of my best teams that worked together.
Right.
They requested to work together after that. And it's
Right.
like, because they were so in tune with what they did and how well they did it, they didn't realize that each other was doing the same thing, and what a great partnership that would have. So I
Right.
think that story helps to express that we work better together. I mean, because you don't know what's going on inside that other person or that other team or that other group's mindset. And when you open that door and have that conversation, you'll be surprised at what can really come out of it, how beautiful, you know, that team or that operation can be if you're not working against each other and you are working together.
Right. And I think I said it before, just helping each other understand that you're both trying to go to the same
Yeah,
place.
you're both on the same page, same
Right.
destination, same goal.
It may be doing things differently, but
Mm-hmm.
again, I always think of it too as complementing one
Yeah, yeah.
another. Because I had this conversation, or during a training session, we had this conversation. A leader or the facilitator asked us, if you're going to build a team, what type of people do you want? Do you want people that are just like you, or do you want people that are different from you?
Mm-hmm.
And amazingly, I we still saw a lot of people raise their hand and say, I want people just like me.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
and again, there's a benefit to that, and then there's also not a benefit to that,
Mm-hmm.
because if everyone's thinking the same, if everybody has kind of the same mindset, then that doesn't really
That means
allow
everyone has the
for
same
new.
blind spots.
Exactly. You won't have that opportunity for new thoughts, new perspectives, which again is sometimes healthy, to
Mm-hmm.
have those, to introduce those differences, so that we can kind of see, okay, there is more than one way to do this. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe we
Mm-hmm.
can, take some of the things from this person and some other things from that person and make a better product or
Mm-hmm.
project. So that's the beauty of, again, we're better together, is
Right.
that we can bring all these shared experiences, all these shared knowledge and information, and compile one amazing thing,
Yeah.
versus, again, everybody is all on the same page, so you're,
You're getting a
like you
much
said, you're
bigger and
blind.
clearer picture.
Absolutely. And that's why I think it's very important, really understanding your team dynamics,
Yeah.
the relationships that you have with people, and understanding their strengths, their weaknesses, just again, so you can
What may be a
understand.
roadblock for me may be an easy solution for you, and vice
Absolutely,
versa.
absolutely.
And I'm going to go back to that blind spot. It's like
Yep,
you can see what's going on to your sides and in front, but what about your back? I mean, and if
exactly,
everyone's looking the same direction in the same way you are, no one's seeing what's going on behind you.
exactly. What's
And
sneaking up
what's
behind you?
sneaking up, and it could be something good, it could be something not so good. But unless you have that diversity of perspective, I mean, it's that group thing sort of thing. And I
Absolutely,
love having very diverse groups because that's how you get those perspectives. That's how you get that roundness, that holistic perspective on identifying um, those things that are potentially challenges or obstacles now are
right.
just they're it's a non-issue because you've already got it solved before it even happens.
Absolutely. Again, you're not going to be able to resolve or foresee all the potential problems, but
Hmm.
you'll probably be in a better position to
Sure.
address some of those things that
Right.
come down. Because again, a lot of us have different experiences, shared
Hmm.
experiences, but also unique experiences that we
Hmm.
may be able to lend some insight on a potential problem or issue that may arise that,
Hmm.
maybe 90% of your team hasn't seen, or
Yeah.
you may have been exposed to it just briefly, but
Hmm.
it was long enough for you to introduce it. And then with the other, assistance of your team members, then maybe you can find a resolution because now they may have had experience doing certain things here and certain things there. And
Hmm.
like you said, you have a holistic approach to resolving maybe this issue or potential issue.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that's when we talk about we're better together. That's what we're referring to. Just having that ability to tap into all of these resources that may be available to you,
Hmm.
so that you don't have to have this cap or head full of thoughts
Hmm.
and things, experiences that only you can resolve. But
Hmm.
again, having all these multiple um, identities around the room, surrounding you, interjecting with you. I think that just makes for again, things you may have not even considered.
Yeah, you're not even considered
Someone
fathomed.
else,
Yeah.
exactly. Someone else is like, hey, what about this? And I feel I hear that a lot or see that a lot when I'm involved in teams, because again, you're looking at maybe your limited idea or
Right.
scope of a certain issue, where they may have an extended
Yeah.
scope of experience
Yeah.
or knowledge of. And again, if you got a room full of people like that, you can start to put together, the best solution, the best
Hmm.
ways to address this thing. That's what we always talk about, even in our podcast. Out of the 100, 13 episodes we've done, even if you just take one nugget from those episodes
Right.
and apply it to whatever you're trying to accomplish, again, it still meets the objective, because
Yeah.
we don't expect you to take all of these topics, everything that we told you, and you use this and then you come out looking like me and Dave. That's not
Right.
the idea
Right.
behind it. It's just, again, different perspectives
Hmm.
that hopefully will assist you in some way, or maybe just have you think differently about it or see it differently, or just open your mind to, okay, maybe there's a different way of looking at it. So
Hmm.
that's what this whole thing is about. We are better together. Like I said, me and Dave being here,
Yeah.
I think we make a stronger case for the podcast with both of us being on here
Hmm.
versus just
Yeah.
one
And the
perspective,
different
one
perspectives that
idea.
you and I bring, as as many similarities as we have throughout our life and career, we are unique individuals, and
Right,
we complement each other. And I think that's important because we don't have the same perspectives and same views on everything.
right, yeah.
99.99999% we do, but that other like little tiny bit we don't. And that's what helps makes us unique.
Right,
Otherwise we'd be
absolutely.
twins.
Yeah.
So but I love working with um, other people that have different perspectives,
Yeah,
that have strengths that I don't have,
yeah,
because that's a compliment. It doesn't intimidate me. It doesn't make me fearful. I'm not worried about my job. I'm not worried about them taking over or whatever. It's like that's what we need, is that collective perspective from everyone on the team, so that we can have those conversations and share those ideas without fear of repercussion or resentment or being ostracized. It's like, this is an open forum, this is an open floor, let's talk about this, let's see what
Right.
comes out of it,
Yeah.
and it's not every idea is going to be great or good or even remotely close to this. Some are going to be just plain wonky, but it's getting it out there and then sorting through all of that and figuring out what's going to work. If this doesn't seem like it's going to work, why isn't it going to work? Okay,
Right.
now
Yep.
how can it work? If these are the reasons it can't work, what are the reasons that it can work? And how far can we go with each one of those thoughts? And then we make a very informed decision. And I think that is, it's phenomenal to be involved with. I love to see it. I love to watch it in action. And I think that togetherness is creates that positive environment where people become more efficient and more effective at what they do.
Absolutely. Well, again, because you get to the point where you don't have to know everything.
Mhm.
And but I do like the idea that, you meet enough people, you build enough relationships that you, if you do run into a problem or an issue, you may know who to contact to help
Mhm.
you with that, or to maybe further extend your network to maybe they know someone that can
Right.
maybe help you with that. So I think that's the power in, again, thinking in a community versus in a vacuum, thinking,
Right.
well, I can only go to these couple of people.
Yeah. Or I have to be the superhero, or it has
Right.
to be
Or
about me. And it's like,
exactly.
it doesn't have to be about you. You can bring other people in. It doesn't mean that they're going
Right.
to do the work for you, but maybe they can provide some insight on how to do it more
Exactly.
efficiently, so you don't have as much stress or as much frustration about the project or the whatever you're working on.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the misconception a lot of times, that people think that they have to know it all. They have to
Yeah.
do it all. And so that, like you said, they can be the superhero, but it's not
Mhm.
about that. It's about getting the task done, a project done, with as many resources as you need. It
Mhm.
may take 10 or 12 resources to get one job accomplished, but
Mhm.
but that's okay, because again, more heads are better than one.
Yeah.
Again, you're going to have all that diversity of thought, diversity of perspectives,
Mhm.
diversity of experience, all those things that could um, enhance your
Mhm.
program or your project or whatever you're trying to accomplish, because again, you have all these different perspectives, different
Mhm.
ways of viewing things. Even if you think about, when we did our research, and for our doctors and through our programs, we didn't just grab one
Right.
resource. We
Yeah.
grabbed a ton,
Yeah.
because we
They
wanted to
told us
see.
to the point of exhaustion.
Right.
You've
So
exhausted all the resources.
right, because again, you wanted to see if you were missing something,
Yeah.
because these people have done these studies or research on these different topics and different things, and now you're trying to see where there's differences, where there's similarities,
Mhm.
and then maybe spin it off to your own perspective of those things. So it's just that ability to, the more information you have, the more knowledge you are able to acquire, the better you're going to be, the better off you're
Right.
going to be. And a lot of times you get that through um, pairing up with people, or
Mhm.
really getting to know people's strengths,
Mhm.
weaknesses, and what they bring to the tables.
Yeah. And I like being in a situation or challenging someone in a situation, not from a negative perspective, but I like being able to say, I don't know something, but I'm going to get back to you on it. I'm going to look
Right.
into it and find
Yep.
out and let you know what I've determined. And,
Yep.
with my staff, it's like, I don't know, Dave, but I'm going to look into it and I'm going to get back to you on it,
Right.
because that to me is expanding me as an individual, and helping
Absolutely.
them
Yep.
expand their perspectives and their knowledge and bring it together. It doesn't mean it's got to be perfect. I don't
Right.
expect perfect, but if we're trying to resolve something or improve something, what's out there? I mean, because
Yep.
things are changing every day. There
Yep.
are
All
advancements
the time.
every
Yep.
day in every industry, in every sector, so how can we not do things? Things are not impossible. It's, we've made this reference before, putting a person on the moon, if it really happened or not arguing one way or the other, but
Right.
under the assumption that we've done that, you know, how many people said that can't be done?
Right.
And
Yep.
then they looked at it and said, okay, these are the reasons why it can't be done. what are the things that
So how
can
can
make
we
it possible,
exactly
like climbing a mountain or getting to the top of something or improving something or going from a horse and carriage to an automobile to an electric vehicle to a
yeah,
hydrogen vehicle, going from automobiles to planes in the sky. I mean, all these things were at one point in time thought impossible or not feasible or
right,
can't be done or shouldn't be done, and yet here we are today with all these improvements because we work better together, and we complement each other, and we look at things differently. And some of
right,
those things, it was one person that changed the whole direction. And then with that change of direction, they were able to pull in the ingenuity and the creativity from other people to work together to really fast forward that perspective or that direction. Because when you're
right.
hitting a wall, there's got to be some way to get around, through, over, under, whatever. It's just you need to have that insight. And if you don't have it, then someone else does have it. You just have to
Absolutely.
find who that person is.
Well, no, when you just said that, what immediately came to mind was, someone walking, given a map, and then saying, okay, follow this map and follow this direction. And then they hit a brick wall and they're like, oh, I'm done. And they
Yeah.
drop the map, turn around and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that leads to if we don't, open our mind to the
Mm-hmm.
possibilities. If we don't begin to think, okay,
Yeah.
so how can I overcome this obstacle? How can I go around it?
Mm-hmm.
What type of resources am I going to need to
Mm-hmm.
assist me to get on the other side of this
Yeah.
barrier right now? So that's where it comes into, maybe you reach out to someone and say, hey, here's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
How can I overcome this? Have you experienced this before?
Mm-hmm.
What should I do? What did you
Or
do?
if you encountered this, what would you do?
Exactly. So that's why it's important. Again, we're not expected to know all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
but the a person that's going to probably reach their goals more effectively is probably someone that's willing to say, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
I can't achieve this alone. What
Mm-hmm.
what type of assistance do I need, or how
Mm-hmm.
can you help me with this?"
And sometimes you need a little direction. It's fine to say, well, this can't be done. Well, there's a way, go find it. Well, if you
Right.
know that
Right.
I know it can get done, I know it's possible, go do it. It's
Right.
like, well, if you know, then why don't you clue me in a little bit,
Right. Give me some
because
assistance.
give me, throw me a bone or something so I can
Right.
start in the right direction, because there's 360 degrees and those all break down too. So,
Right.
you know,
And I've seen that in the past where people will say, "Well, that's how I learned."
mhm,
You know, nobody helped me or nobody told me. That's
right.
all fine and good, but
But
how much
just because you
time,
had to do that
right?
doesn't mean I have to do it.
And how much time maybe did you waste? And again, I know people learn a lot of times by experiencing it themselves, but what if
But
they just
people do
had,
learn differently,
well,
you know.
right?
And
But
what is your real goal there? Are you trying to get things done effectively and efficiently and improve something? Or are you trying to develop that person? And there's a lot of time that can be involved. I mean, that's really what it comes down to me. If someone says,
right,
I know it can be done, go figure it out, I'm like, okay, that must mean I have a lot of time to do this.
right,
Because
yeah,
if there is a way and I don't know it and you know it, give me a little bit of direction and I'll go do it
right.
because I'm lost.
But I think that needs to be established at the very
Oh,
beginning
sure,
too,
sure.
because again, you can't tell me, okay, figure this out, and then tell me I've got a deadline of tomorrow morning,
Yeah.
and
Or
you
go
know how
figure
to
it
do it.
out. Yeah. Or go figure it out. And whatever solution I come up isn't the one that you wanted. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
there's,
So I think there needs to be some clear
yeah.
parameters
Yeah.
surrounding
And
whatever that
expectations. And
is.
that gets back
Yep.
into communication and working together instead of against each other. Because to me, that's working against each other.
Right.
If you're doing that, unless you say, Dave, I'm here to help you develop. I know what the answer is, but I want you to go find it. And here's the
Right.
time that you have.
Right.
And let me know what you got. Okay, that's one thing. But if you just say
Right.
go do it and I do it and you tell me it's wrong, that's not working together.
Right.
That's that's
Right. Yeah.
that's, that's setting someone up for failure or frustration.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
So
agree.
let's look here. Oh wow, we are down to a couple of minutes. How about that?
Man,
I thought
he's
we had 10 or 15 minutes left.
right.
Nope, we are
I guess
almost
we
out of
get
time.
deep into the conversations
Yeah.
and time flies.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this one up. So what are your final thoughts on We Are Better Together?
So I'll go back to where we started with this whole thing. Oftentimes we think we can do things on our own, and a lot of times we can't. But I think it can speed up our process. It can assist us if we can find assistance in whatever that looks like. And the fact that I started with the basketball analogy or sports
Mhm.
analogy. Typically, yeah, there may be a superstar or a standout, but they also need some type of support. Regardless if they're carrying 90% of the workload, there's still 10% that needs to be completed to
Mhm.
get to 100%. So working together it is about just accepting, being open to, being aware that it's more than just about you. And I think we
Mhm.
said this early on too. It's about winning, not you winning by yourself, but winning together as a
Right.
team. So
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add is that "We Are Better Together" sounds like an awesome title for a song. So
That's out
with
of my
that,
that's out of my realm. So
so with that, we'd like to thank you all for joining us for another episode of the Journeys of Not So Ordinary People. We love that we have so many of you listening and sharing the podcast in our networks and in your own networks. If you have any ideas, thoughts, ideas, reach out, share them with us. We love the feedback, and with that, we want you to keep on being your not so ordinary you.